Hey folks, welcome back to another live broadcast. Today we are going to be doing a project from start to finish using CadworxLIVE.com. So while you guys are joining in, I'm going to take a minute to just kind of describe what CadWorks is for those of you that aren't familiar with it just yet. It is a free online artwork program or software that you can utilize on any computer. That's the beauty of it being online. You don't have to worry about it being a subscription and downloading it and just using it on one specific computer. It can be used anywhere that you have access to internet. And it's great for PC and Mac, so it doesn't really matter what type of computer you're working with, just as long as you can get connected to Google Chrome. CadworxLIVE is going to work perfectly for that browser. It also includes a lot of templates and clip arts that you can utilize to create different and unique designs. So it does have some pretty basic software, I guess you could call them techniques, but there's a lot of different things that you can do editing wise that I feel like a lot of people aren't that familiar with unless you're constantly in there working with the program. So I really wanted to take the time today to walk through creating some more difficult artwork that will ultimately help you create looks that sell. And what's nice is you can get looks like this in a free artwork program if you're not already in Adobe Illustrator or Corel Draw, because you just don't have that graphic arts background, which is me 100%. I don't have a background in graphic arts at all. I don't know how to work Adobe Illustrator or Corel Draw. If I was put into one of those, I would not know left from right in there or what tools did what. So CadWorks is my go-to for all of my artwork creation, for all the projects that I do with the heat press. So with that being said, I see a lot of familiar people commenting in from Facebook. So hello and good morning to Patrice, Rob, Craig, Mike. So glad that you guys could join me this morning. Missing some people from YouTube. Who do we have on YouTube? Go ahead and comment in. Let us know where you're joining from. And of course, this is all very interactive. So if you guys have any questions throughout this little tutorial or how-to through CadWorks, just let me know, and I'm going to keep visiting the questions here, so I'll make sure to get those answered. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so that you guys can see what design we'll be creating today. So as you can see here, this has a lot of colors in it. We're actually going to be working with 5 different colors today. And ultimately, whenever you're creating your artwork, you also want to consider what type of production you're going to be doing in-house to produce this artwork. So I'm only the only capabilities I have at home right now are heat transfer vinyl with a vinyl cutter and a heat press. So unfortunately for me, a 5-color job is going to take me a lot of time. Now, if you are doing, and that's okay because I'm just producing a one-off of this particular piece of art. But if you are going to be working with a large job that wants a design with a lot of colors in it, such as this, then you're going to want to make sure you are using a print cut system or something that can print full color and allow you to heat apply it onto the fabric. So what I recommend is if you're doing like 1, 2, or 3, heat transfer vinyl works just fine. Or if you're doing a larger job that has this many colors in it, or maybe you're getting gradients in your artwork, then definitely consider outsourcing a print cut job where it's printed heat transfer vinyl that all you have to do is heat apply it on, or you can also order that from us. So if you wanted to just upload this artwork and get that transfer ordered, then we can send it to you ready to heat apply if you do not have the print cut system in-house. So there's a lot of different print cut options out there. You can do the large format inkjet printers, or you can use inkjet paper. If you have just an at-home like desktop inkjet type of printer, you can use paper for that as well. There are some limitations with that, just keep in mind, but there are other options. But today we're going to be doing a 5-color heat transfer vinyl application, and we're going to be using UltraWeed to heat apply this design. But before we get to that stage, I want to walk you through the process of how I created this artwork, because essentially what I did here was a knockout design, but instead of doing the standard knockout where we're taking clip art and knocking that clip art through the text, we're reversing that. What we're doing is knocking text through clip art and incorporating a unique color scheme. All right, so that's what we did, or that's what I did here. And I'm going to leave this up at the top just so that I have something to mimic as I'm creating this from scratch. All right, so again, this is the design that we're going to be doing. I'm going to open my original tiger and add it to my current design. And what I'm going to do with this is duplicate it. I'm going to make this smaller just so I have more room to work with. All right, so the first step is bring in the clip art that you want to use and duplicate it. So for this, we're just going to use a mascot head, such as this tiger. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and change those colors because, as you can see from the original design up in the right-hand corner, whenever we knock that C through the design, we're actually going to be changing the inside of the color so that that C shows up and really pops on that graphic better. So what I want to do to change the colors of this is go to shaping and break apart by colors. And it's going to break apart the black, the orange, the red, the white. And then I'm just going to grab the orange color and make that silver. Now, one thing with working with CadWorks is because it is online, if you have slow internet, you're going to notice a lot of rendering. So anytime we're rendering, I'm just going to take that time to visit some of the comments as that loads. All right, so Tasha says, I'm having trouble sending to vector cut. So I guess my first question would be, how are you exporting it to vector cut? What error message is coming up? There's a variety of things that could be going on there. But we could definitely figure that out just by jumping on a call with the tech team. So let me know what type of message you're getting from that, and I can try to pinpoint it. But if not, you can talk with our quality experience team, and they'll get you squared away. All right, so we have our colors separated. So I'm going to change the orange to silver. And then after that's done, I'm going to go ahead and group that all together. Good morning, Sophia. Rob asked, what is the process and how do we size for different garments? For example, size for XXL shirts for a small t-shirt, or a size for a sweatpants leg or sleeve. So Rob, we actually have a few different guides. Within CAD Works, we actually have a little button over here on the side. It's called Size to Fit. If I click that, it's going to give me, it's not loading right now because my internet's running very slow. But we have a size list that will populate here that ranges anywhere from youth to adult to extra large or even oversized, and it will give you the dimensions of what that design should be. Now, if you're looking for more different, like unique locations, like you mentioned, like the sleeve of the pants or the sleeve of a shirt, then we do have a decorator guide that tells you or just gives you a ballpark of what the size of the dimension should be for each location on a t-shirt, on jackets, on sweatpants. So we'll be sure to send or post the link to that PDF so that you can download and save it. It's a really great reference guide whenever you just really aren't sure what to size your designs at. All right, so we have our tiger duplicated and we changed the color, so we can go ahead and push him off to the side And we're gonna work with this one right now. Actually, I do not want to resize that, so I'm gonna hit undo real quick. All right, next step is to add our text, right? So this is where it can get a little bit hairy. So I'm gonna try to walk through this process as simply as possible so that you're understanding exactly what I'm doing. So the first step is to add our text. Then we are going to choose our font style. The font style I chose for this is our Athletic 4. And then I just took this and manipulated it to look how I wanted it to on top of the tiger. So if you notice here, I paid close attention and detail to where the eyes are because I didn't want to take away the impact or the effect that the mascot has. That's very important to a school if you're working with a school, what their mascot looks like. So we want to be sure not to take away too many details or elements of a piece of clip art. So whenever I'm knocking this through, I want to make sure that I'm not losing the effect that this mascot has. So I want to pay close attention to its teeth and its eyes and make sure that that's still popping through this knockout design. So what I'm going to do to make sure I'm doing this correctly, I want to open this C up so I can see where those eyes and those teeth are really going to pop through. So I'm going to add in an effect, and that is called a combined contour. And that's just going to open that C up and let me see what's going to be underneath it so I can position it exactly how I want it to be. And so I'm just going to manipulate this to look exactly how I want it to so that it's showing all of those design elements. And then, of course, we want to make sure we're staying nice and centered. I'm going to widen this out just a little bit so it's not too skinny. We can still tell that it's a C. All right, and now I'm just going to center it. And I make sure we're still centered and our things are still lining up correctly. All right, so at this point, I'm going to duplicate this. And then I'm going to remove this contour. Why I'm doing this is because I want this to punch and remove all of this inside of this C, right? So that's why I'm removing that contour. And what I'm going to do to make sure that my lines are going to add up correctly, so you can see that there's still some spacing. If we zoom in on this real tight, you'll be able to see lines from where that outside contour is not entirely touching. And I don't want that to be left over whenever I go to lay this combined contour back in. So what I need to do is add a little bit of a contour to the black colored C so that I can make sure that those extra lines are not going to be there. The reason I'm being very cautious of this now as I'm making my artwork is because I want the heat press application to be as easy as possible. And this is going to help me do that, because if I start getting random gaps and open areas of the design, it's going to look like my design is not aligning correctly and the registration is off. So being very cautious of that now is going to help you for your heat application, especially whenever you are working with heat transfer vinyl in multiple colors, because you get into shrinkage and all of that. So once again, we're going to add a contour here. And I'm going to do that in a small contour so that it is still staying solid. And I'm going to drop that down to the same size we did. So the same offset, which is 0.04, so that it's the same thickness as this one. That way, whenever this goes and lays right in, it's going to match up perfectly. All right, so to repeat that step, we add our text, we do a combined contour to see where we want the C to lie on the clip art. then we are going to duplicate that C and do a outline instead of a combined contour, right? And then that's going to punch through this entire section. So I'm going to select both of these, and we're going to use the tool called back minus front. All right, so now I can get rid of that. I'm going to drop this in just to make sure things are lining up well. So I'm going to bring this to the front. I'm going to make my contour white because that's the way it is in the design. All right, so everything's looking good. It's nice and smooth along the lines. What's nice is whenever I go to line this up later, I know I have enough room there, even a little bit for error, that if I were to not place this perfectly, that I know it's still going to overlap there. It doesn't have to touch line to line. I have some offset there that's going to make up for that. All right, so a couple more steps. We need to get this color inside this C so that we can create our original design. So we're going to take our clip art and we're going to drag it right over top of this one. And I'm going to select both of those. And I'm going to do center middle. Right, we want to make sure everything is perfectly aligned because now we have to punch this through once more. So we go to, I'm going to hit center middle one more time just to be safe. And I'm going to do back minus front. And that's going to take the orange tiger and punch it through the silver tiger. And now we have our C there. All right. So now I can bring this forward. And I resized my tiger, which I should not have done. I should have zoomed in. All right, we're going to hit undo a couple times. All right, so we did not want to resize that. So we make sure that we hit undo till we get back to our original size, and then we're good to go. All right. So Mike says, you make it look so easy. Thank you. This actually took me a while to do. I was actually playing around last night with it. I saw something very similar done a while back in a screen print. And I was like, oh, we could do that with heat transfer vinyl. So I was playing around with it. And this was originally my plan for Monday's topic, but CAD Works had a bug and it was getting fixed that morning, so I couldn't do it. So I was playing with it and I was thinking, how can I make this process look as smooth as possible? And it took me a while. I was trying to get this artwork to look and be simple for about 2 hours. So I'm glad I made it look easy, but it was not easy getting there. All right. And yeah, so Mike says, I like the center middle option, automatically centers it for you. So yeah, there's a lot of different tools within CAD Works, as I was mentioning earlier, that are extremely helpful in the artwork process that a lot of people just don't know exist because you have to be in there constantly, like playing around with it to really learn all the ins and outs of the program. But it is, once you get more involved with it, it becomes a lot much simpler. All right, so at this point, it's time to heat transfer vinyl and cut our heat transfer vinyl, or if you guys are going to print it, you guys can do the print cut option. So at this point, of course, as I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that you are using the method of application that makes most sense for the job that you're doing. I'm doing one, and the only capabilities I have in-house are cutting heat transfer vinyl. So I am going to cut, or I already cut. I didn't want you guys to have to sit through that process. I already cut out 5 colors for this design, and then we're going to weed them all and heat apply them. But if you were doing a larger job, let's say 12 to 24, print cut is going to definitely save you a lot of time. So you could just take this artwork, upload it on stalls.com, and we'll send you the transfer ready to heat apply. Or if you have that technology in-house, then you can do that as well. So you have 2 options. It depends on what type of vinyl cutter that you are using. So if you are choosing to use heat transfer vinyl for this, I'll be using Ultra Weed. Then at this point, all you have to do is go to File, Send to Vector Cut. So anytime I'm working with the Graphtec C6000 or the Roland GS24, I send to Vector Cut, and Vector Cut is going to populate. So that is a download that comes with CAD Works that exports your artwork and brings it into this window so that your vinyl cutter can then read it. But what's nice is it does cut by color so that you know exactly what color you need to be loading into your vinyl cutter. That's one thing I extremely miss whenever I'm working with the Cricut, because I have to separate out each of these colors, import it, trace it, and then redo all of those colors again. So it is a bit of a process to get it into Cricut. But if you can use Vector Cut with your designs, then that's going to save you a ton of time. So we're going to size this down. And you can see here as we have our mirror in here, I can rotate if I need to. I have the ability to gang up multiple designs if I need to. I have the ability to change the width of my heat transfer vinyl. So if I was working with a normal size of Ultra Weed, which would be 15 inches, then I can change my material width, and then also my offset. So offset is going to help you imagine where your design is going to cut on your roll once it's loaded into the vinyl cutter, and those pinch rollers are there because the pinch rollers do take up about an inch combined. I shouldn't say an inch on both sides, but together they probably take about an inch of material. So I want to make my width, as opposed to 15, maybe 14, or even 14 and a half. Right, and then I can just select these and hit auto origin, and then it'll populate it and show me exactly where this is going to cut on my roll. Now, if I'm loading in my white heat transfer vinyl, my white will populate there. I'll hit auto origin. It'll align all that there for me. So this is just showing you exactly how Vector Cut can really help if you're working with the Graphtec or the Roland vinyl cutters. Now, if you're working with Silhouette or Cricut, unfortunately, as of now, Vector Cut does not read to those vinyl cutters. So that's why I was talking about the painful process of exporting this design and bringing it up into Cricut. So I have Cricut Design Space loaded, and I'm going to finish this out just so that you guys can see the canvas. But I had to import this design completely separated by color and then piece it all together and then assign its colors once again, so I knew which color to load onto my cutting mat and then vinyl cut it. Same thing would work with the Silhouette as well. All right, so Cricut and Silhouette both have to do this process, so that can be a little bit time consuming, but we are working out a way to figure out how we can get Vector Cut to read to those vinyl cutters. There's some loophole out there that we just aren't aware of yet. But for the most part, Cricut and Silhouette like to keep their design spaces very proprietary, so that you have to use their software in order to use their machines, because they're selling art through it and products. So makes sense. I understand why they do it. All right. So we have the heat transfer vinyl already cut out. And I already weeded away the black just to make sure I was getting a good cut line. So the black is our base layer. That's already vinyl cut. And so all we have left to do is weed 4 more colors, and then we can finally heat apply. Right, and for those of you that aren't working with Ultra Weed yet, this product is super easy to weed, and it has a little bit of a tacky carrier so that we can get a nice detail if we need to, which we definitely, with this design, need to have. It is a very thin and lightweight product as well. So although I'm going to be layering a lot of these colors, it's not going to feel all that heavy when it's being layered. All right, so silver, this is, or the gray, this is the inside of my C, where we have a lot of detail of the tiger head in it. So I am going a little slow just to make sure I'm not picking up any small pieces that could potentially ruin the outcome of the finished and applied design. If you're working with the Cricut, this product just applies on the regular iron-on plus setting. I'm sorry, I said iron-on plus, I meant iron-on. All right, so it looks like we have all of the detail weeded out for that part. Now we'll weed away the orange. This one I don't need to worry about being too cautious with because there's not too much fine detail in this one. So I'm not too worried about taking my time with it. For the most part, it's just tiger stripes. And what I love about this product is that if I accidentally lift up a piece, all I have to do is just stick it back down, which I'm sure a lot of you that work with heat transfer vinyl a lot have noticed if there's points in a design like these, they like to lift up as you're weeding away a little bit, especially if your cut line might not be like deep enough. But yeah, you can just stick it right back down. Tacky carriers make that a breeze. All right, looks like I have one more section in there. Oh, there's another one. Okay. And I just kind of bend the heat transfer vinyl to make sure the light hits each section, just to make sure I'm not missing any cut lines. I'm pretty good at missing cut lines when it comes to a lot of detail. All right, and looks like it starts over here. What type of heat transfer vinyl is your favorite to work with? Let's see those comments. What type of heat transfer vinyl is your favorite to work with? What's your go-to when it comes to matte products? Mine used to be fashion film, but Ultra Weed has won me over. It's just so easy. It looks like we have one more little section in there. Okay. Oh, looks like I accidentally picked up a piece. There it is. So this little piece accidentally picked up. So I'm just going to place that back down where I can see the cut lines and save that. Tweezers, a weeding tool really helps with getting things back in place if something like this were to happen. Every time I cut on the Cricut, I say that I need to get a new blade, and I always forget to order one. Okay. All right, so I'm going to trim this up a little bit. There's a lot of excess over here. I always use this to pick up any little weeding pieces that are left over. Okay. All right, so the weeding process is done. And now we get to piece it all together at the heat press, which is the funnest part. So I'm going to share my other screen here so that you guys can see the heat application. So we are going to be heat applying on a New Era brand, and I sourced this from Sanmar. I absolutely love this t-shirt style, especially with fall coming up. It's very sporty and it's super, it just feels really, really comfortable. So it's like a 50-50 blend, I think. It may even be a tri blend. Let me double check. It is a tri blend. So 50% polyester, 38% cotton, 12% rayon. Another great reason why to use Ultra Weed, because it can apply as low as 260 degrees. Since we have a higher content of cotton than rayon, I am still going to use that 280 degree. But if you were using a very large percentage of polyester or rayon, then definitely drop to that 260 because that'll help avoid any scorch marks or bruising of the shirt. All right, and it does have little stripes on the sleeve just to add like a color block and more profitable effect to the shirt overall. All right, so let's go ahead and load our shirt on the heat press. I'm not going to do this one upside down and thread it on, so I'm just going to load it on both ways. I could very easily thread this on because it is a larger shirt. But since I'm piecing so many colors together, I just want to make sure that I'm getting a good view of it. So first step, of course, is to preheat. Heat that up, and we are going to apply our black layer first. So the black is going to only tack on there for just a few seconds. 2 seconds to be more specific. So I'm just going to tack that. It's already removing my carrier for me, which is why I need to grab a cover sheet. I have one laying around here somewhere. It fell. Okay. So that 2 second tack is really going to help with layering multiple colors at a time. So keep that in mind. If you're going to be using a lot of colors, you want to make sure that you're using a product that has a quick tack, especially something as low as 2 seconds, because that's going to decrease the chance of the material actually shrinking and keeping our design from lining up correctly. All right, so I'm going to lay in the orange now. And this is going to be another 2 second tack. Now, before I apply this, I am going to drop in the gray parts, which is the inside of the C, just to make sure that that is lining up too with how the orange is. It doesn't look like it is, so I'm going to readjust. All right, let's try that one more time. Much better. Okay. Another 2 second tack. Immediately hot peel. Just making sure everything's lining up. Sometimes I adjust what's underneath that layer just a little bit, just to make sure everything is lining up. Another 2-second tack. So I'm going to lay in the white so that it will be easier for me to figure out where the red piece goes since it's such a small piece. So you'll notice every single color is getting just a 2-second tack. And then our last step is when we will apply for the full application. Uh-oh. Do you remember that piece I tried to put back on the carrier? I put it on upside down. So now it's applied to the carrier instead of the shirt. Okay. So red, okay, so this is going to get another 2-second tack. And the reason I'm tacking this one is because I want to make sure that this square where the carrier is not going to indent the rest of it. So this is going to get a 2-second tack once more. And then I'm going to apply for the full application. We just want to make sure that at this point, after doing all this work, we're not ruining the finish of that really nice matte flat product. So now we're going to cure for the full 10 seconds. All right, questions. Craig says that image would be great for ultra color sock. I agree. I 100% agree, especially because it has so many colors in it. All right, and it's done. I am very impressed with how this came out. I was a little worried about the heat application just with so many colors and really getting that registration to turn out. So was a success, and the entire piece was created in CadworxLIVE using free text, clip art, and tools. Okay, so make sure that you are utilizing that resource because it can really help, especially if you are not graphic design savvy, such as myself. Okay, so we have another question. Have you ever had an issue with layered HTV peeling off of the background? I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding this question correctly. So I have a follow-up question for you. Is it peeling off of your first layer? Because then it might not be a product that is layerable. So follow-up question, and then I might be able to help answer that a little bit better. Okay, so Patty asks, in production, how long would you say this would take for one? With vinyl cutting it, if you're using a stepper cutter, you want to make sure you're allotting time for that. It probably took me a total of 10 minutes to cut 5 colors. Although there is a lot of colors and it looks like there's a lot of detail in this design, there's not a lot of intricacy in the design. So it didn't take too long to cut even on a stepper motor. It probably would have taken 2 minutes for me to cut it on a Graphtec or a Roland using a step or a servo motor. Weaning, probably 3 to 5 minutes, I would say. It may have taken me, which is probably about the same time it would take you, and then less than a minute at the heat press if you are used to lining up a lot of colors. So I would say in total, if we're counting the cutting, weeding, and heat applying, I would allot 15 to 20 minutes. Is that fair to say? I don't know. That's a total guess. That's off the cuff for me. So Really good question, but I never thought about that as far as time, but time is money, so it's a good question. All right, Russ says, I'm going to order the tweezers today along with the Premium Plus order from the 50% off clearance sale on the original colors. Yeah, so thanks for posting that, Russ. Don't forget to check out those colors for the 50% off. Premium Plus is a great product. You can never go wrong there. Okay, so gold alloy. All right, alloy, I'm trying, that's a different brand than what I've worked with. Is alloy metallic? I think it is. If so, that is not a layerable product. So you always want to make sure your background piece is something that can be layered and adhered to. So like, for example, we can't layer on glitter flake. It'll look like it applies it first. It's not going to like remove whenever you peel the carrier away. But after it's in the wash cycle a couple times, you'll start to see that peel off. So a lot of other products such as our metallic and our Flock 2, we don't recommend for layering because we've experienced that happening. So just make sure you're paying close attention to those instructions of the product. They'll always point out what can be layered and what can't. All right. April asks, where is the shirt from? This is from Sanmar and the brand is New Era. Thank you, Mike. All right. Tri-blend material is very popular material. Yes, it is. And I've actually noticed rayon being the highest content in a lot of retail apparel. Like I'm pretty sure the shirt I'm wearing is like 98% rayon and like 2% polyester. So rayon is definitely on the rise. So it's very important that you're finding low temp materials so that you can print those fabrics, because that's the type of shirts that your customers are looking for, exactly what they're seeing in retail. All right. Let's see, it looks like we're answering most of the questions. All right. If I happen to miss a question, I apologize. I'm trying to scroll through. There's a lot of nice comments in here. I appreciate everybody chiming in. Okay, here's a question. I'm still trying to understand the sublimation printing. Do you guys print for shirt makers and send them out via a parcel service, or do you only sell printers and paper? Yeah, so we sell all of the equipment and materials for you to produce in-house. What I would recommend is calling into our customer service so that they can just tell you a little bit about what we do and how we can help you make t-shirts and fulfill your customers' needs. Okay. So if I happen to miss any questions, I'll be sure to revisit this and answer those. But it looks like for the most part, we're all answering each other's questions. So I appreciate, once again, you guys joining us. I do have a quick announcement. If you guys are notified or you turned on the notification bell, like on our YouTube or on our Facebook, to get notified whenever we do our live broadcast, just note that we are changing our schedule to Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. So same time, we're just not going to be going on Mondays anymore. Reason being is because we are also doing webinars as well through our website. So go to the Stalls events page. If you guys want more education, we are going to be doing a lot of webinars on like Mondays and Wednesdays for you guys to tune into. So we're going to change our live schedule to Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. So be sure to check out the webinars, and then that way you don't have to split your time between or choose between doing a live class or doing a webinar. All right, so thanks again. Be sure to give us a thumbs up if you liked today's project. And I'm going to post the final result in the Heat Press for Profit Facebook group and answer any questions you guys may have there as well. So I will see you guys next time. Thanks again. Have a great weekend.